I've been noticing some movements, some shifts in the Western Cape. There seems to be turmoil brewing between the two parties, that's the FF Plus and the DA, with the ANC likely to be a potential partner for the FF Plus, the political leadership of at least 9 council. This is where it could actually impact of 9 councils across the province, including the Garden Route District Municipality, and the local municipalities of George and Breede Valley are at risk of changing hands after the DA and the FF Plus fell out. This fallout has already collapsed coalitions in 2 Western Cape municipalities of Cuan and Langeberg since the beginning of August. We speak now to Cuan Elgin, who's the FF Plus Western Cape Caucus Chair and Overberg District Councillor. He's also a resident in Hermanus. We'll also then, Dr. Mark Burke will join a little bit later. He is listening to that conversation. Mark Burke is the constituency head of the DA in Oudtshoorn. Cuan, good morning. Welcome to the show. Thank you for your time.
Well, hello there. Good morning to you. It's a pleasure and a privilege. Thank you.
What went wrong? I mean, I've been kind of sort of seeing tidbits about conflict between the DA and FF Plus. I didn't think it would get to a point where it seems to have affected some municipalities and might actually grow into an even bigger tiff. From an FF Plus perspective, what happened?
Well, we'll have to go back a little bit to just before the national election.
Sure.
The problems seem to have started with a disciplinary hearing for the mayor, the DA mayor of Cape Agulhas, where an independent panel, and I was on that panel, was put together, including a DA councillor on the panel, to investigate alleged financial mismanagement by the mayor. The panel unanimously, that's including the DA councillor, found the mayor guilty on both counts. The recommendation to council was, of course, dismissal. The panel had no power to dismiss the mayor, of course. That was up to council. The council took the recommendation and dismissed the mayor. So for the DA to turn around and say we sided with the ANC, etc., is absolute nonsense. It was an independent panel which included the ANC, but included the DA, and they unanimously found the mayor guilty. The DA then promoted the mayor to province, which is something they do. So that seems to be where the problem started. And then after the national election, there was a movement by the DA in George and the Garden Route, which is the district for George, to oust the deputy mayor, who was a Freedom Front councillor. They managed to do that. So, you know, there's been a little bit of a track history here. Then it moved on to Oudtshoorn, which you've mentioned. And the DA mayor there, now bear in mind that the council of Oudtshoorn had 25 councillors. The DA had 7. So they certainly didn't have the say in everything there. They had 28%, less than a third of the vote on the council. The other parties in the coalition in Oudtshoorn were adamant that they could not work with that mayor. They called him an autocrat, they called him all sorts of things. Either way, a motion of no confidence was put forward in that mayor. But before that happened, the DA approached the Freedom Front and said, please support our mayor. And the Freedom Front's response was, well, we're not alone in saying that we can't work with this man. So put forward another DA, take note, mayoral candidate, and we will support him. The DA refused, and they said they're sticking with this gentleman, McPherson. Unfortunately for them, their bluff didn't work, and the motion of no confidence went through, and he was dismissed, and I think he's been promoted as well by the DA. And so it goes on. So there's no question that the Freedom Front wants to break coalitions with the DA. Absolutely no question. We are, as we've always stated, and we maintain that position, a reliable coalition partner. But we cannot stand by when there's mismanagement, when there's financial impropriety, etc. We cannot stand by and support the DA in every instance. If there's a problem, that's our role in the council, is to come forward and say there's a problem. And we always discuss it with the DA in advance. So I hope that puts the record straight to some extent. The Freedom Front, yes. The Freedom Front is firmly committed to coalitions in the Western Cape. There's no question about it. It is the DA that is breaking the coalitions. So their media machine, you know, we have a saying, not everything blue is true. The media machine is giving the impression that the Freedom Front is trying to break coalitions. It could not be further from the truth. We are totally committed to coalitions in the Western Cape.
Attempts to intervene, I mean, you're saying in essence every suggestion you've made was pretty much turned down by the DA, right down to this mayor who eventually faced a motion of no confidence. Attempts to remedy the situation beyond your council, so looking at province to intervene, looking at national structures, how has that fared?
Well, the Helen Ziller has announced, as she does unilaterally, that the government of national unity is not a government of national unity. It's a coalition between the DA and the ANC. In other words, all the little parties don't matter. Yet at local level, it seems to be a different case altogether. We are firmly committed to our coalitions with the DA, yet we're getting the impression, the clear impression, and so is the public, that the DA actually is not interested in coalitions at local government, and they are trying to force out any Freedom Front councillor who happens to hold the balance of the vote, let's say. So, we have to look at local level as well. We are firmly committed to having a mirror image of the government of national unity at local level. So we're looking at governments of national unity local. The DA doesn't like that. Now, they will keep telling the public that their municipalities are very well run, etc., and they will talk about DA-led municipalities. We categorically say we are not DA-led. Our policies are very often diametrically different to the DA. We stand for Christian family values. They obviously don't. Various other things. But in general terms, we stand for rule of law and clean governance, as they do, or so they say. Yet the public is under the impression given by the DA that if there's a clean audit, which they're very proud of on many of their municipalities, that means everything is hunky-dory. Essentially, a clean audit means we know what money came in and we know where it went. It does not necessarily mean it was wisely spent. And that's where we come in. We regard ourselves as the watchdogs, especially in the Western Cape, where we're in a number of coalitions with the DA, the watchdogs in the sense that we guard the ratepayer, because at the end of the day, they are the ones who pay the bills.